But first, starting out, I guess we got to talk about it. Deshaun Watson, he was finally officially suspended for 6 games, and the NFL is appealing that because they want a 1-year suspension. First takeaways.
Yeah, I agree with the NFL. I mean, I don't know if they're. I don't really know what they were thinking putting Sue Robinson in front of it because they usually do it themselves, right? So I don't know why they specifically had someone else do it this one time, which is like a little weird to me. But they're also appealing it, so I don't really get the whole decision making behind all that. It's like, why didn't you just do it yourself? But I mean, Sue Robinson did release a 17-page report that, I mean, honestly, I did not read, but obviously she had her reasons for 6 games, whether it's lack of evidence or whatever she thought. But either way, I think it should be more. A year sounds about right. I mean, but the thing is, if we go back in history, you look at people like Big Ben, Ray Rice, the Tyreek Hills, the Ray Lewises, etc., who all who had like little suspensions, like 2 to 6 games probably. I don't remember all of them, but I mean, Tom Brady got 4 games for Deflategate. Meanwhile, Deshaun Watson gets 6 for this, which is stupid because like that's only a 2-game difference. And Calvin Ridley got a whole year for placing $1,500 on games he wasn't even playing in. Ruins the integrity of the league. Well, I guess 24 assault,
Right.
assault cases doesn't ruin the integrity of the league enough to as much as betting on a game you're not even playing in does. And only $1,500. That man's a millionaire. You know what 1.5K is to him? Nothing. It's literally nothing. It's pocket change. It's like it doesn't even matter. He was just trying to have like a little bit of fun because betting's fun. Let's all be honest. I don't know if you're ever been a bettor, but I mean, it's just I don't know. I think had they had like reasonable suspensions for other people, like Calvin Ridley or Tom Brady, like people who did a lot worse but got either worse or similar suspensions, then I guess I'd be okay if they had like more reasonable suspensions because based on their ideologies of the integrity of the league, sure, I mean, I can't do anything, but in reality it should be a year.
Yeah, I think.
And also, if we think about Josh Gordon, whose whole career was ruined, he was going to be a superstar, probably a top 5 receiver in the league. I don't think that's debatable because of what he did with literally, I think he had Brandon Whedon that year, right?
He had Brandon Whedon, Jason Campbell, Brian Hoyer.
Exactly. It's like you give a guy like that suspensions for just smoking a little grass when it's literally fine now to do that because of him, probably.
And yet people use the Josh Gordon excuse because, like, oh, it wasn't his first time offense. It was 2, and then it was 8, and then it was a year. But how do we determine first time offense in this whole Deshaun Watson situation? Because
yeah, which one was
right,
the first time offense? Which of the
it's
24?
like people see that big number and they just conflate it all into one. They're not humans anymore. They're desensitized to it all once it hit a certain point. But like you said with the whole precedent situation, that's basically why Sue Robinson admitted that was why she gave 6 games. She basically admitted that he did do it, and he also lied about it, but she couldn't do more than 6 because of the precedent the NFL had sent. But that's the precedent because of how poorly the NFL has handled other cases in the past, as you mentioned. Like, you can't treat this as a normal situation with 20-plus cases involved, and they only looked at 4 cases for this specific case, as in that's what Sue Robinson heard from, was 4 of them. But even then, how much is 4 cases worth? Apparently, they use the non-violent sexual assault precedent, which sexual assault is sexual assault. I don't really get that. But they use the precedent from Jameis Winston, your favorite player, back in 2018 when he got 3 games.
Second favorite player. Let's.
But he got 3 games for 1 case, and this is 4. So how does that make sense? The math isn't really mathing. And the fact that Watson got the same exact suspension that Big Ben did 11 years ago for having 10 times fewer cases in an era that was much less or more forgiving of situations like this than we are now in 2022. Any way you think about it, it just doesn't make sense. in my opinion.
Yeah. No, it's stupid. I mean,
and I think the precedents, like, you can use precedents for situations like gambling or drugs or whatever, but justice should be what matters most when dealing with something like this, where people's lives are actually impacted.
Yeah. But, so, hear me out. You say justice, but, like, the thing is, it technically was civil cases. So it's
there's not going to be like real justice.
How do you think about that? Well, I know what you're. I think we both know what we're each saying. Like, how do you think about that in that way? Like, it's hard to like really put that together.
Yeah, it's just difficult to put into words, but there's levels to these things, you know. Like, we all know the Calvin Ridley suspension is ridiculous, and
it's so. How does he not appeal to yet?
And I also wanted to say, Watson and his camp and the Browns, they keep saying that he's expressed remorse, and like, I don't know what definition of that word they have, because at every single opportunity he's doubled down and he's like apologized for having a distraction, but not for any of the things that have happened, which is fine, whatever, but then don't lie about it and try to make yourself look better.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to say, I read this article by Mike Florio. There's a quote in there which goes off what I was saying. It says, "How is he a first-time offender when there are 24 alleged offenses? How is he a first offender when the New York Times has reported that he has hired at least 66 women for private massages in a 17-month period? And how does his excellent reputation prior to the 4 accusations that became the focal point of the hearing mesh with the existence of 24 lawsuits? Or with the fact that he had managed to engage in this habit/fetish in secret for months, if not years?" This was going on for so long. And so it's not like a new thing. This is not a first offense, as we mentioned. Any way you cut it, this punishment does not fit the bill.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think we all can agree a year makes sense, but what I think what will happen is I don't think it's going to change.
I can agree with that. And I also floated on Twitter earlier this week that he might be able to see the field in week 1 since they are appealing it, and that might pause things. We've seen this with guys like Ezekiel Elliott in 2017. But I did read that this case is a little... obviously, neither of us are legal experts. I've heard this one is a little different, so that's probably not going to happen in this case, but it's still something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think... I don't really know about that. Like, I have like no opinion on like if he's gonna, like what you just said, like the whole maybe play week 1 thing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how it works.